this story in particular really got me thinking about something. I don't like expanding the size of government and bureaucracy, but I think the job of attorney general at the state level should be divided into two jobs. I believe there should be an elected attorney general, and then I believe there should be a different sort of title where it's someone appointed by the governor to be the state's chief attorney. So maybe it's like chief attorney or something, or state attorney. So you could have the attorney general and the state attorney. Here's why. There is a total contradiction in the role and duty of the elected attorney general in the state of Washington. They're supposed to be the state's chief law enforcer, right? But they do things that, like, who do you think the attorney general should work for? Who do they work for? Ask yourself that. So they work for the voters, right? The voters elect them. But they also work for and are the chief attorney for the state of Washington. And to me, there's a conflict in that job. How can you represent the voters and also represent the government? I don't believe that you can do those two things, honestly, at the same time. So, for instance, there are cases where if I were to sue the state of Washington over public records as a member of the media or a member of the public, because the public has access to public records just like we do. So let's say in some way you were wrong. Doesn't even have to be over public records. For instance, there was the case brought against the Department of Social and Health Services by the family of a disabled woman who was mistreated under the care of the state of Washington. So you've got a citizen of Washington in that case, a disabled person, sues the state for mistreatment. Who does the state attorney general defend? Well, they defend the state of Washington. They defend the state agency against a citizen of the state of Washington. So same example with public records laws. If I'm a citizen of the state of Washington, I believe the state violated public records laws and I want to sue, who does the attorney general's office represent? They represent whatever agency is being sued by you, a citizen of the state of Washington. So do you see where I'm going here? How can we have one position whose job it is to do two very diametrically opposed, to serve two very diametrically opposed clients? Now, sometimes the interests of the state of Washington are the same as the interests of the people of Washington. Sometimes they're not. Call me crazy, but if the citizens elect the attorney general, shouldn't the attorney general be tasked with looking out for the citizens? Shouldn't the attorney general be representing the citizen that's suing the state? I would think so. That's why I really think it should be two separate jobs. Because Lord only knows some of our laws, some of our policies are in direct conflict with what the people of the state of Washington want, like on parental rights. So, for instance, the state attorney general would have had to defend the initiative on parental rights if it were challenged, and did have to do that. But then lawmakers turned around, upended the initiative on parental rights with a new law, and it's the job of the Office of Attorney General to defend that new law, which overrode the will of the voters. You see how this is really crazy stuff? The Office of Attorney General absolutely should be split into two separate things. An elected Attorney General that looks out independently is not the attorney for any state agency, for the best interests of the people of the state of Washington. And then for all the political nonsense, BS, defending the state agencies from whatever happens, that should be a state's attorney appointed by the governor. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that, because it bothers me all the time. So in this regard, this case happening right now, I think, is a very good example of this. So Attorney General Nick Brown, wow, he's even outpacing old Bobby Ferguson in his lawsuits against the Trump administration. I mean, I don't know how he's had time to breathe. Every day, it's a different legal action against the Trump administration. He's just TDSing his way to the top. So he has now filed a lawsuit, and there's other states involved in this as well, against the Trump administration in regards to actions on energy. This from Attorney General Nick Brown. On Inauguration Day, President Donald Trump declared a national energy emergency under the National Emergencies Act. At the direction of the president, federal agencies are bypassing or shortening critical reviews under the Clean Water Act, Endangered Species Act, and the Historic National Preservation Act for energy projects. He went on to say the only emergency is that the president disagrees with policies to address climate change in Washington state and elsewhere. He is illegally using emergency authorities to keep the nation reliant on energy sources like coal, oil, and gas. The end goal is clear: eliminate the competition so his oil and gas donors can keep gouging Washingtonians and polluting the state. Okay. Let's take a deep breath there, because I know that you guys caught that same thing. So now it's the Trump administration's donors who are gouging Washingtonians at the gas pump. Am I understanding that correctly from the Attorney General of the state of Washington, Nick Brown? So he's very concerned with that. Oh, the Trump administration is pushing policies that allow his big donors from gas and oil to gouge the people of Washington state at the gas pump. Oh. Meanwhile, we have the Climate Commitment Act in Washington state, which is stealing money from you at the gas pump to go into climate policies that are doing nothing to improve the environment. So the Attorney General, again, in this weird dual role, I think should be looking out for the best interests of the citizens of Washington state and challenging, I don't know, the validity of the Climate Commitment Act. But he can't do that because the state's his client. And the Attorney General has to defend laws on the books in the state of Washington, even if they're very detrimental to the people of Washington, or even if the money that's collected through those programs isn't even being used for what it's supposed to be used for, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So the job of Attorney General is totally worthless, and it allows an ideologue like Nick Brown to get in there and to just solely focus on things that are going to be popular to his political base. And so in this one, the Trump administration, I'm hoping the Trump administration can save us from the Climate Commitment Act. You might recall he came out and basically said that they're doing a review of state policies that hurt American energy independence and that punish Americans and create higher energy prices and higher gas prices and higher grocery prices to push this sort of climate agenda. I don't know the extent to which the Trump administration is going to be able to help with that. But if I have to think about something that's costing Americans at the pump, and I'm left with, is it Donald Trump's energy policies, or is it the Climate Commitment Act and policies like it? It's very clearly the Climate Commitment Act. The other funny thing about that is, like, let's say Trump's donors are going to use these energy policies to their benefit and to continue to gouge prices at the pump, okay? So the Attorney General thinks they might do that, right? He's like, that they could do that. Meanwhile, he's ignoring the thing that's actually actively, as we speak, currently gouging prices at the pump, the Climate Commitment Act. Just wait till gas hits $6 a gallon this summer, not only because of increased gas taxes that were just passed, but also because the Climate Commitment Act is designed over time. It allows and auctions off fewer carbon credits. And so as there's fewer credits, the cost of buying those credits at auction goes up, simple supply and demand. And they pass that cost along to consumers. So Nick Brown has abandoned any semblance of being the reasonable moderate that he campaigned as. Shock of the century. He is just trying to copy Bob Ferguson's playbook and maybe even double down on it so he can become governor too, maybe even faster than Bob Ferguson, who knows. And at the same time, he is screwing over the people who put him in office, and his position allows him to do that. And it just does not make any sense to me.